Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Militia Man and Crew here this weekend, and I hope everybody's having a good start to it and probably getting ready for the holiday season, and I know that I am. So, hey, listen, the central bank governor the last couple of days, he has an article called Opening External Channels with Foreign Currencies to Eliminate the Black Market. I thought this was, I know it's a day or two old, but bottom line is the governor of the central bank on Thursday, it says that opening channels in foreign and Arab currencies achieves stability in exchange rate and gradually eliminates the black market. So it goes on to say that the governor of the central bank, he visited the Iraqi trade bank, and they appreciated the bank's efforts to expand its customers base of importing merchants, so people coming across the borders, and procedures to facilitate their transactions in a way that contributes to achieving stability in that exchange rate market. And it goes on, it says once again that the central bank's multiple external channels in foreign and Arab currencies, get it? Foreign and Arab currencies, achieves continuous stability in the exchange rate. So it's providing stability by them doing what they're doing, is bringing stability, and it effectively or gradually eliminates that black market. Well, we know that in the past, they've told us, we can look it up anytime on Patreon, you guys, with Militia Man and Crew, /MM&C-Crew, right? You can find that. And what happened is that in the past, and it's been months, that they have gotten about 95% of the market share on these new platforms, dealing with the dollar, okay, so that they can import. And that, well, anyway, we won't go into each and every one of those things. But what does it do when an exchange rate comes? I think Alak is basically suggesting that there comes a time when the dinar is worth more than the dollar. He didn't say it, but that's what we've heard in the past. It'll go away, and it'll probably be like immediately. In my view, okay. I believe that the exposure to the public could come at any time, and when I say that, we're talking about the issue number 4805 of the Iraqi Gazette was published on 12/9/2024, but we didn't get it until the other day. It's been a couple days, but we haven't seen it exposed yet. There's some stuff that's in that document, okay, that's private, and they haven't shown it yet. And what we believe is Article 12 is involved in that. Article 12 is part of the oil revenue stream from the Kurdistan region. And now you remember, the salaries haven't been paid accordingly for the last 3 months. Why? Because there's probably an exchange rate component. The oil hasn't been turned on to Turkey yet, but there's something in there about that Article 12. Okay, there's different portions of Article 12. It could be A, B, C, D, or E. But one of those is going to be about something to do with the exchange rate, or they wouldn't be holding it so close to the chest. I think that we're going to find out that that's important. Okay, Al-Alaq sets date for announcing final results of the general population and housing. Be careful on this one, you guys. Some people got confused, but this isn't the same person of the central bank. He's from the United Nations Population Fund Advisor, and his name is Mahdi Al-Alaq. Are they related? I don't know. Doesn't matter. One of the things is that they were talking about the results of the census to the end of the day when it comes to individuals and families was scheduled for today. Today is the 14th, and that means that the families, so if in fact that we're not talking about other things that go along with the census, because there's all kinds of components to the census, but if it comes down to individuals and families, to me, with the new electronic systems and etc., having them done first, so if there's going to be an exchange rate that might be related to that Article 12, because once it's exposed, it'll have valuation towards the ability to pay the salaries accordingly and at what exchange rate, and same with the oil. What's the valuation of those assets that they will be dealing with that I think it's $16 a barrel for a production cost as opposed to $6, which was in the past. Okay, so they have that pretty much settled. That's in the Gazette, 4805, and it wasn't able to be accessed to get all the components. Okay, so anyway, that's for sure. So December 14th, today, interesting timing for today. So I think it's kind of nice to see. And then there was an article, I think it was from the, a British paper. It says U.S. investment climate statement for Iraq. This was back a little time, you guys. It's back on the 11th, but I still had it. I wanted to go over it. Why? Is because the U.S. State Department issued in 2024 an investment climate statement for Iraq earlier this year. And what it does is it's the investment climate. What is everybody going to go into Iraq at 1310 for? They're not. They're going to keep coming in because what? Things are going to get a little bit different. But it has about 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 15 bullet points that you can read. You can find this article. You can Google it online, and you can also find it in our Patreon account. It says here the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has been in office since late 2022. He takes hands-on involvement in reiterating that his country is ready to do business. Trade and investment were the centerpieces of Sudani's official visit to the White House in April of 2024. So here we are ending it out. One of the key components of this whole thing is Iraq's constitution grants the Iraqi Kurdistan region semi-autonomous rights, and the IKR often serves as a starting location for U.S. businesses in Iraq. They go on to say, among the IKR's commercial attractions is foreign companies may keep 100% ownership. I think you guys understand that. That's big. So in other words, you're getting 100% ownership when you buy something. You're not splitting it 50-50 or 48, 52. You're not doing that with the government. So they talk about security issues. They talk about due diligence with investors from around the world. They talk about the opportunities and what's expected. It says here that tenders for 2 mega projects are expected at the end of 2024. Well, we've got 2 weeks left, so we're going to have to find out about that. Rehabilitating Baghdad's international airport, building a north-south corridor of rail and roadways, the development road, resolution of an oil dispute between the GOI and the IKR could also encourage additional hydrocarbon investment. In other words, have an internationally tradable currency, and which is potentially part of what they just talked about, the oil, Article 12, a component of it. So let's see how that turns out. Ultimately, it says while investors in this semi-autonomous IKR face many of the same challenges as investors elsewhere in Iraq, so the friendlier investment climate noted there, allowing that 100% ownership of businesses and more commercial-friendly legal framework appeal to many U.S. firms and franchises. And so when I hear franchises, I'm like going, is that gas stations? Is that like food outlets? I think isn't KFC and a few other companies over there already? Yeah, I think they are. So friendly environment, business, open for business. So let's go. Basra security. So this weekend we had, I think it was on Wednesday of this week, that a bunch of delegates and ambassadors from around the world, I think there was probably 145, 146 or so, that showed up to Basra. And having some sort of a get-together. I think that this particular meeting with all these different delegates was a second one, not necessarily the first one, but nonetheless, the people could be different because, people come and go when it comes to the, their positions as ambassadors. But the bottom line is they're there for, I believe, Arab and foreign Arabic diplomatic missions. They're there for trade initiatives, etc. But it says that the head of the Security Committee in Basra Provincial Council confirms that this visit of these Arab and foreign diplomatic missions aims to shed light on Basra as an economic capital with the tremendous development potential. Well, we just heard that. What are they talking about? The Development Road Project. They're talking about hydrocarbon investment. They're talking about all that stuff. Okay, so these are the people. These people are heads of state effectively, and they speak for the countries. So you can see how it's probably a pretty big deal. It says this particular media statement is Basra Governor Assad al-Adani to accompany the delegation of diplomatic missions, which included more than 146 figures, to the grand port of Fa. Well, of course, that's going to be the starting place. That's going to be an amazing amount of money going through there, and trade. That's all there is to it. And the materials that are going to come in for the reconstruction effort to build the roads and to build all the updates and stuff. It's going to be a powerful time frame for us to be in. And it's a powerful time right now, specifically. Okay, the previous achievements of the local government and its future plans aimed at developing the infrastructure. Building out infrastructure, folks, is very expensive over time, and especially when you're going to go 1,200 kilometers. That's a long way to go. So really, look, the previous achievements of the local government in Basra and their future plans are aimed at developing the infrastructure and enhancing Basra's position as a strategic hub in the region. And all those things that we just talked about have been reviewed during this visit. This visit carries a clear message about the authenticity of Basra and its cultural depth, as well as its readiness to receive investments in major projects. So they're obviously geared, ready to go. So having 146 countries that have to speak for their own countries, and they have that ability to, is very telling. Investment, development in this circumstance for the country of Iraq, I think you all know it's going to be massive. So we'll see what this next bit here is. The central bank denies this audio recording attributed to al-Awlaq about the dollar. You know, we had some communications floating around that Awlaq is a bad guy. He stole 250 million and all these different things. I think if you guys come in and see this article here, you're going to go, well, what I've been saying for quite some time is Awlaq has been the central bank governor twice now. And he has gone to the top of the Arab Monetary Fund and back to Iraq again. And we believe, I think you may too, ultimately, aside from the negative comments and stuff about him, he's still there. And I think if you all know how it works, I think you know that the United States Treasury, U.S. Federal Reserve has been in bed with the Iraq Central Bank for a long time, and they've been working to clean it up, and they were going after corruption. And I think they would start at the top if they found it. Wouldn't you think? I do. So I think what you're trying to find out is Awlaq he's doing what they call damage control. It's like alleviating reputational risk. It's really big in banking. You need to, if you have negative connotations, you got bad press, and it's wrong, you come out and say so, and he does. So be careful on what you read on the internet. It says Central Bank of Iraq denied Thursday, December 12th, 2024, an audio recording attributed to the governor of the central bank, Ali Awlaq. He says there's no truth to the recording attributed to the governor, which he spoke about smuggling 250 million daily through remittances and the rise in the dollar price. So somebody's spreading information that's suggesting that he's doing it on purpose. But remember now, for almost 2 years, they've had these new platforms where they've been moving these guys away from the dollar auctions. The dollar auctions are what's the problem, and that's where the corruption is. And that's about ready to go bye-bye, because what did he say also earlier on tonight is that he was getting rid of the black market, because if he's doing the things that he's doing is naturally, gradually getting it done. But I think by changing the exchange rate, possibly with that Article 12 in that Gazette budget being exposed, we're going to find out. And if it's not, then we're still going to find out what's in it. But I believe we all know what it is, because they're not doing all this stuff in the future and not paying salaries and not reopening the oil after losing $20 billion to keep an exchange rate at 13.10. I don't think that makes sense to anybody. Okay. So anyway, Awlaq dispels the fake news that circulate around social media. We all know that he's been vetted by the United States Treasury, the World Bank, etc. So I think we can put that one to bed. The parliamentary comment on the amendments to the regional budget. It says the resumption of oil exports will contribute significantly to increasing the country's revenues, driving investment in this field. And here we go, you guys. Article 12 of the Kurdistan region's budget to raise the cost of producing its oil from $6 to $16 a barrel. And after the amendment is made, that amendment, that's possible, right? Article 12. Kurdistan's oil exports to the Turkish port of Ceyhan will resume at about a rate of 400,000 barrels per day. So here again, they talked about this December 13th, which was yesterday, and I think that is powerful information that we all should take seriously. And here's an interesting article. I'll probably just get to a couple little brief pieces. It says, does Iraq have a digital economy? And we know Iraq's going digital. We know there's a digital transformation. And we can just briefly go through this. It says, in a world constantly advancing technology and emphasizing the importance of digital skills, Iraq has begun its journey towards digital transformation, which is not new. They've been doing this for quite a long time. The country is gradually building its infrastructure and enacting laws and regulations to reflect current technology changes. He says that Iraq embarks on this path. It is crucial to assess the current state of the digital transformation, which comes from both the Iraq government, commitment to modernizing the infrastructure and services, private sector players, and the support of international institutions. I like that part because it's support of international institutions, so they're getting help. It says they go on to several factors that may impact all these changes. These include what sectors that are e-commerce, telecommunications, fintech, mobility, medtech, edtech for education, I'm assuming, tourism, and agritech. And I could probably figure that one out too. It says the insights presented are based on a thorough desk review, as well as interviews with key stakeholders and experts in their respective fields. So in my line of work, you guys, aside from what I'm doing here with you, when someone does a sort of a desk review, that's not necessarily the fullest review, but it means that they have all the data that's gathered, that's reputable, and that is supported. So it's data that should be considered legal documents, for instance, reports that are, people are supposed to stand on, that are supposed to be vetted. And so they're going to have all that information, as well as interviews with key stakeholders and experts in their respective fields. So through that desk review, you're going to have to say, well, if they're having a desk review and it's a very thorough one, and they're doing interviews with stakeholders, and they're making sure that everything's proper and right in their respective fields, means that they've already done things. It's past tense. Okay, so Iraq's basically looking forward to moving and advancing their economy by far. And then they're going to be using the youth to do so. And they've already told those youth that they're going to have a reality, which is going to be purchasing power. The citizens are waiting for that. And they all know that there's security when it comes to electronic payments, and there's ease of use, and there's transparency, and it gives clarity, okay? And it's going to keep securing the trust of those younger generation. And banking and financial systems, once they get the trust in the banking and financial systems full-fledged, this place is just going to keep going, because it's the youth that's going to drive this. And I think the world and the World Bank and all the Bank of International Settlements and everybody knows their demographics. I think the census is going to show their demographics, and they're going to have some good numbers. And again, back to that census that Mahdi al-Alaq, not the central bank governor, was talking about. He probably fully well knows that today was the day that he was supposed to have everything tidied up, so all those numbers should be in place. So that means that all those national cards, or however they're going to do some electronic payments, probably could get cleared here shortly. That's what my hope is, okay? So the next article we're going to get into this evening is the foreign minister. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit different, change the thread here, because there's some other things that are going on. We're talking about economics, we're talking about finance, we're talking about banking, we're talking about the citizens. There's a lot of different things that we just talked about. But one of the things we're talking about now is going to be somewhat about security and stability. And why it's important is because there's been a change. The Syrian president has been ousted, and it's going to be touch and go with that country. But the region, we have Saudi Arabia. I think I'll get into it, but many countries in the region are all banding together to support Iraq, to be that mediator that Iraq has been for so many years, and what they're known for. And al-Sudani has shown for the last 2 years that he's got that capability to do so. So ultimately, if there is a collapse of Syria, and there's a collapse of Iran, for instance, everybody's insulating themselves, because this project has gotten started at the port of Fa that's going to go into Turkey and on into Europe, and it's too big to fail, I think. I think it's at this stage, and it's not going to stop. They're not going to just say, we can't do it anymore. But anyway, I think they're insulating themselves, gearing for it, and they're ready for any actions that could be taken from any extremists and terrorists, etc., like that. So, yeah, could it be a worry? Of course. But am I talking about what everybody in the world wants to do? I think when you have all the Arabs band together to be able to help Syria, etc., to help function, keep the business going, keep economies running, and etc., I think you're going to see that it's probably going to happen to be, touch and go, but nonetheless, it'll probably be fine. Let's hope. It says that the governor of the Basra, he says that he stresses during his visit that the Basra was and will remain in the forefront of describing it as the mother of Iraq. That is regaining its health through its stability and economic renaissance. Renaissance, as you guys probably very well know, is something anew, effectively. He goes, I congratulate the people. So he says, I congratulate the people of Basra on their governor Assad al-Adani, who succeeded in leading the process of construction and reconstruction and strengthening balanced relations with the neighboring countries. So again, it's another sort of past tense. We talked about that review. They had to get to a review. That means they had to get to the data set to know what they are reviewing. It means, what did you do, right? Congratulations is past tense. Okay. He goes, there's a collective determination to make Basra a leading economic center, linking the East and West, stressing that the city will be the jewel of the Arabian Gulf in the very near future. Very near is it says near future. So I think that's pretty good. And again, that was past tense information, and it is powerful. Let's see. Al-Alawi, it says the Baghdad deserved to be chosen as the capital of the Arab tourism. Well, that's interesting, because if the security and stability is not good, it's not good for tourism, it's not good for business. So obviously things are looking good. I think the world is accepting the circumstances that al-Sudani and his teams have put together, and what the environment is. The investment environment, as like that British paper said, is strong and is looking good. So this is all collective. You look at the promotion that they're working on. If you look at all of the things collectively, you go, wow. So they got the finance, they got the banking, they got the investment side, they got the security and stability side going around the region, containment, not getting involved in the other conflicts or this conflict, telling everybody that Syrian conflict, in a sense, is more internal, and they're leaving it that way. We're going to not get involved, but we'll help try to get solutions. So that's what they were talking about. It says Baghdad is celebrating today the 104th anniversary. Today, the first governor of the Baghdad, that happened back in what I think is December 10th, 1920, that Iraqi national figure Rashid al-Khoja, this Baghdadi man with the well-known and steadfast positions who refused to have the will of the Iraqis confiscated. indicating his wisdom, experience, and management had a prominent and significant impact on building state institutions, especially in the field of education, when the modern Iraqi state was established back then. So the celebration today linked Victory Day, as well of the Iraq's triumph over the forces of evil and terrorism. It says Baghdad is now living in the splendor of its spring, as every day we have an achievement and projects whose foundation stones have been laid, and a project that is opened and provides its services to the community. So they're looking to take care of the services for the community and its people. Baghdad was chosen from among Arab cities as the capital of Arab tourism. Baghdad earned this entitlement with honor and thanks to the efforts of all their loyalists, starting from the Prime Minister, Shia al-Sudani, the Prime Minister's advisor to tourism affairs, as well as other parties that participated in receiving this entitlement. So, look, they're stating that the launch of events and festivals and exhibitions and governments was key to the distinguishment of the year. So this next piece, you guys, is the advisors and analysts. The international coalition is committed to the Iraqi security and stability that I was just mentioning. Baghdad's role is a pivotal in the region, and I brought that up. Basically, it says officials, government advisors, political analysts, all unanimously stressed the importance of the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's visit to Iraq and his meeting with the Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani to discuss the situation with Syria. While they stressed Baghdad's point of view regarding what's happening in Damascus cannot be ignored, they pointed out that the visit confirmed that the international coalition commitment to Iraq's security and stability. That's basically, it says, the government communication with Washington regarding Syria has not been interrupted, so they're in constant contact, and the international coalition is still in place. So now, remember they were always trying to get rid of all the coalition, but now all of a sudden they're saying, whoop, hold on a minute, we may need you guys. And so they're still in place. Advisors suggest Iraq's role is pivotal and it's necessary to reach an understanding with it regarding the region's crisis. It says views Iraq as a player capable of playing a pivotal role as an influential regional and international partner, and has the ability to positively influence the crisis that the region is suffering from, especially the issue with Syria, which has a very long border with the country of Iraq. There's numerous pages. You can find it in Patreon. It's a good read. It's long, but I'm not going to get into every little bits and pieces because there's lots of different components. But basically, regarding Blinken's confirmation of the commitment of the international coalition led by his country, which is the United States, in regards to Iraq, it says the commitment is part of an agreement signed between Iraq and the coalition, as well as the United States of America through the Strategic Framework Agreement, and is binding on both parties. So here again, the United States is involved, helping out, just as all other countries. Okay. It says in this article, it's a little bit more fine-tuned, that U.S. Secretary of State praised the government's role in calming the region, and it says the spokesman, Alawadi, confirmed today on Friday, that was yesterday, of course, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken praised the government's role in calming down the region. Blinken's visit confirmed that Iraq's security is maintained and no breach has been allowed. It says the U.S. Secretary praised the role of Iraq, calming the situation, and that the international coalition is obviously still present. It says ISIS and any extremist organization cannot be allowed to cross the Iraqi border. The security forces with international coalition are ready to carry out strikes against terrorist movements. So they're willing to use force if we have any bad actors showing up. And at this time, when Iraq's getting ready to go international, they're going to probably keep a very, very tight lid on the border control. And if you've got the international coalition working with you at this time, I think we can all smile a little bit brighter. Blinken says, I was amazed when I arrived in Baghdad by the construction in Iraq and the vitality of the capital. So obviously he's impressed. He says, I was amazed when I arrived in Baghdad with the construction and vitality of the capital. It indicates that the important work has been accomplished to ensure that Iraqis receive the necessary services to build a better life. It's impressive that these changes are happening, and the Iraqi people deserve this development. There you go. Anthony Blinken giving full acknowledgement that they're getting they're gearing to go and do what al-Sudani's put out. He's going to finish projects. He's going to do more and more for the people and their services. And he's got the support and the backing from what it sounds like in some of these articles that al-Sudani has been met with by the al-Sistani has been met with by the UN twice, and that's pretty uncommon. But anyway, it's about the people. It's about tamping down terrorism. He's done that before. Matter of fact, al-Sistani was one of the guys that did some religious orders. I think it's called a fatwa against ISIS. And it didn't take long to get rid of ISIS out of Iraq the first time. So they're probably not going to want to let him back in. So this article is the more than 11 international movements in 3 days reflecting Iraq concern, or Iraq's concern. And it's a long one. It's like 5 pages, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing. But I want to get into that Iraq and the region are witnessing rapid movements and visits. So people are coming from different portions of the world. You're going to talk about the Arab approach with the Syrian crisis. You're going to talk about Turkey. They talk about they prefer to have an Arab approach to solve the Syrian crisis as opposed to saying, for instance, Turkey, Israel, the United States of America, to fill the vacuum. So they're trying to rally other countries, Arab countries, to be able to help out and to work things out with this new position that Syria is in. But anyway, it says, over the course of 3 days, Iraq and the region witnessed a round of visits, starting on Tuesday with the visit of the commander of the U.S. Central Command to Syria. Then he headed to Baghdad and met with the Iraqi Prime Minister. After this meeting, al-Sudani quickly headed to Jordan to hold a meeting with the King Abdullah II before returning to Baghdad. As for King Abdullah, after saying goodbye to al-Sudani, he quickly flew to the United Arab Emirates to meet with Mohammed bin Zayed. It says immediately after al-Sudani returned to Baghdad, a delegation from the U.S. State Department arrived in the capital to hold a new meeting with al-Sudani. He then received a phone call from the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, then received the German Defense Minister and his accompanying delegation, after which al-Sudani received a phone call from the British Foreign Secretary. So you can see what we're talking about now, right? Look who's all showed up in the last 3 days. It says a UN envoy met with the religious authority. By the way, last 3 days, I just caught that. Wednesday evenings when all the ambassadors started showing up to go into Basra. There was 145, 146. And now they're saying that these guys, al-Sudani is working on his side at a higher level. I think that's fascinating. I think it's quite interesting. Okay, so the UN envoy met with religious authority al-Sistani, like I said. Then and this is within the last 3 days, you guys. Then al-Sudani contacted the Egyptian President Sisi, after which the U.S. Secretary of State visited Turkey, and there he went to Baghdad and met with al-Sudani. So they're kind of laying out a picture that these guys are all in communication, and they know that there's some serious business going on, and they need to contain it. And maybe take advantage of it as well. We'll see how that works. So it says, as for al-Sudani's visit to Jordan, Iraq and Jordan share a common border with Syria, so that makes sense. A light of movements of terrorist groups within this geographical area amidst concerns in circulating intelligence information from the existence of threats. So caution and coordination of positions and not working alone must be exercised, they say. It says basically that the region will witness new developments, agreements, security arrangements, and perhaps even new access in the coming days. So they're hot and heavy on this. The visits are many and mutual, but each of these visits has its own specificity. Al-Sudani's quick and fleeting visit to the King of Jordan is linked to developments in the region and the possibility of Iraq playing a role in finding an Arab approach to the Syrian crisis. An Arab approach. Arab countries have begun to sense that the collapse of Iran and Assad regime in Syria has created a large vacuum on the Syrian geographic level. So the Arabs find it in their interest to fill this vacuum on their own in light of the efforts of other countries to fill this vacuum. Some of those ones I already mentioned. The nature of the communications of the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is also to find this approach and to call for an Arab conference to develop initiatives and implement them, and the countries will wait for the response of the transitional government in Syria. So here's an interesting thing I want to bring up, because look, and I find it fascinating. It's not surprising either. Regarding the recent statements of the leader of the State Law of Coalition, Nouri al-Maliki. Okay. The Secretary General of the Badr Organization, Hadi al-Amiri, which the center says, the fall of Assad was a great shock to the leaders and the forces of the coordination framework for the reason they have come to realize, given that Israel has activated successive geographic wars, and that Iraq is the next geography. And for this reason, they have become very worried. So in other words, if you're politically aligned with Iran and there's a problem, and as effective as that country has been in taking care of certain things, there you go. They're scared, okay? Consequently, the leaders and forces of the coordination framework believe that Iraq is moving towards change. And so they should be nervous, probably. What happened in Syria and the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime will not be the last stage of these events sweeping the region, which are expected to redraw the political map there. So in other words, what I just said is probably holding true. Iraq Representative al-Sudani is trying to spare Iraq the fires raging in the region, especially before Trump officially assumes U.S. presidency on January in 2025. Okay, so anyway, whether that's going to have any further consequences for anybody or what the outcomes of that are going to be determined, and we're going to find out as soon as January is not too far off. Lastly, you guys, the Prime Minister discusses with the head of Victory Coalition the general situation in the country's developments in Syria. So it's still right there on the Syrian situation. But the one paragraph I'm going to read before we end is that the meeting discussed the general situation in the country and the importance of supporting the government in implementing its strategic plans, in which it's made great strides, especially with regard to the economic reform and poverty alleviation in its efforts in providing services and combating corruption and completing the infrastructure, all of which fall within its government program. So everything we've been waiting for, all of these things have been happening. This is towards the end of the day. So the meeting witnessed a discussion developments in Syria, okay, potential security issues. So they got the security side taken care of. So they really want containment now, because that last paragraph is basically making me feel that they discussed this general situation in the country and the importance of supporting the government in implementing those strategic plans. And those strategic plans, again, are to help providing services, combating corruption, and completing the infrastructure of the government program. Okay, you guys, that's what I had for you guys this weekend on Saturday. Thank you so much for being with us. Hey, don't forget to put your notifications on so when I get more coming in as they come in, which we will do with patreon.com and our Discord chat room. You guys are all welcome to come in and check it out. For the newbies that haven't been there, you can find it in the details in the video about where to access that. And also, you guys, we have PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle for all those kind helpful donations, big and small. Thank you so much and have a great weekend. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.